What's going on, CK Nation? It's your boy, the Boss Man CK, and on today's episode of the CK Motorsports Full Throttle, taking a trip down track history lane, we're gonna go head down to one of the most historic short tracks in the Southeast, and located in beautiful Easley, South Carolina. This place just isn't another old racetrack. It's a place where NASCAR roots run deep, where Hall of Famers turn laps, where local heroes became legends, and where one little half-mile oval helped shape the culture of Southern racing. Today, we're stepping through the gates, looking back at the glory days and the unforgettable names, the big moments, and the fight that still goes on today to preserve one of short track's most important landmarks. Today, we're going to visit Greenville-Pickens Speedway. So, we're all gas, no brakes, full throttle for Kyle, and let's get to it. Alrighty, when you pull up to Greenville-Pickens Speedway, you can feel it immediately. Even if the track is quiet, it doesn't feel empty. It feels lived in. It feels important. Like the kind of place where every patch of pavement, every seat in the grandstand, and every wall and every corner has a story to tell you. Greenville-Pickens Speedway sits in Easley, South Carolina, just outside Greenville, and for decades it was one of the region's true short track cathedrals. This half-mile oval became a proving ground for local racers, NASCAR stars, and generations of fans who grew up spending Saturday nights right there under the lights. But Greenville-Pickens wasn't built during the corporate era of motorsports. It came from a much different time in American racing. A time when tracks were carved out of red clay, communities rallied around race days, and stock car racing was still defining what it would become. In 1946, Greenville-Pickens opened originally as a dirt track built for both horse racing and auto racing. Like many southern speedways of the era, it was born from a mix of entrepreneurial grit, local entertainment, the explosive popularity of post-war motorsports, and the future founder of NASCAR, Bill France Sr., was involved in promoting racing there in the track's earliest days, connecting Greenville-Pickens to the very foundation of organized stock car racing. And that's what makes this place special. Greenville-Pickens isn't just near NASCAR history, it's woven into it. Today, we're going to trace the story from the dirt track years through NASCAR golden era into the weekly racing culture that kept this place alive for generations. We're also going to talk about why so many people are still fighting to this day to keep Greenville-Pickens from fading away. To understand Greenville-Pickens, you have to picture this place as it was in the late 1940s. Not paved, not polished, and definitely not quiet. Back then, this was a dusty dirt oval cut into the South Carolina clay where fans packed in to watch rough, raw, wheel-to-wheel racing action. The Speedway officially opened, how funny is this, on Independence Day, July 4th, 1946. And from the very beginning, it was built as a community event destination. Auto racing, sorry, I had a fly on the camera. Auto racing, horse racing, crowds, noise, dust. It was part county fair, part sporting event, part Saturday night ritual, and like so many great short tracks, it quickly became a gathering place. In those early years, Greenville-Pickens represented the kind of racing environment that created stock car culture in the South. Drivers weren't millionaires, crews weren't giant organizations, These were racers, mechanics, families, and fans building the sport one weekend at a time. And Greenville-Pickens grew fast. The venue became a regular stop for major stock car competition and earned a reputation as a tough, physical, little racetrack, the kind where patience, rhythm, and nerve mattered just as much as horsepower. This wasn't a super speedway where the stars dropped in once a year and disappeared. Greenville-Pickens was a working racetrack, a place where weekly racers made names for themselves, where up-and-coming drivers learned racecraft, where legends had to respect the locals if they wanted to leave with a trophy. To really understand what the dirt years meant, you want to hear from someone whose family lived it, a longtime local racer historian or a family member connected to the track, because places like Greenville-Pickens weren't just venues, they were part of a family calendar. So your question probably is, what made Greenville-Pickens different from the other tracks in the region? What do older racers remember about the track area, and how important was this place to the local community? Now, here's where Greenville-Pickens moves from being a beloved racetrack to being a major part of stock car history. In the 1950s, Greenville-Pickens became part of the earlier NASCAR landscape. The track hosted NASCAR Grand National races, what we now know as the Cup Series, bringing some of the biggest names in the sport to this little half mile in South Carolina. Greenville-Pickens hosted top-level NASCAR races across multiple seasons in the 50s, 60s, and into the early 70s. Think about that for a second. A half-mile local track in Easley, South Carolina, playing host to the stars of the sport while NASCAR was still growing in national powerhouse that we know today. Among those names tied to Greenville-Pickens Speedway are some of the sport's all-time greats, from Ralph Earnhardt, Richard Petty, David Pearson, and members of the Flock family, all part of the Speedway's long competitive history. The track roll calls read like a stock car racing time capsule. And if you know your racing history, you know those aren't just famous names. Those are pillars of the sport. Ralph Earnhardt was one of the toughest racers of his era. Richard Petty is a king. David Pearson was one of the most naturally gifted drivers NASCAR ever saw. These weren't ceremonial appearances, they raced here. They competed here, and they became a part of Greenville-Pickens lore. This track helped bridge NASCAR's local roots and national future. It was still intimate enough for fans to feel connected to the drivers, but big enough to attract major events and major attention. That's one reason Greenville-Pickens holds such a unique place in racing history. It captures a moment when the sport was still close enough to touch. If you ask longtime fans about NASCAR at Greenville-Pickens Speedway, they'll tell you this wasn't just another race on the calendar, it was an event. The kind of day people planned around. If Greenville-Pickens already had a place in racing history, 1971 cemented it for good. This speedway was the site of one of the most important broadcasting milestones in stock car history. The first live flag-to-flag television broadcast of a NASCAR race was on April 10th, 1971 on ABC Worldwide of Sports, aired right there in Greenville-Pickens Speedway for the Greenville 200 from start to finish. A huge moment not just for this track, but for the sport as a whole. Today, live race coverage is normal, but in 1971, that kind of television exposure was a major leap, and Greenville-Pickens was the stage. That says a lot about the importance of this place at the time. It wasn't just another weekly oval, it was a venue that trusted to showcase the sport to a broader audience. That's the kind of fact that you should stop any race fan in their tracks. One of the biggest moments in NASCAR television happened right at Greenville-Pickens Speedway. Not Daytona, not Charlotte, Greenville-Pickens. That's why this place matters, because if you remove Greenville-Pickens from the story, you don't just lose an old track, you lose a chapter in how stock car racing reached America's living rooms. And when you stand there and you think about the cameras, the crowd, the cars, the noise, and the feeling of the sport moving into a new era, you realize just how much happened on this little half mile. Like a lot of historic southern speedways, Greenville-Pickens evolved with the times. After years of a dirt track, the speedway eventually paved it into and was paved in 1970, transforming the racing style but not the spirit of the place. The dirt was gone, but the identity remained the same. This was still a hard-nosed short track where local stars were made through consistency, toughness, and the ability to survive a long season. In decades that followed, Greenville-Pickens became a cornerstone of a weekly short track racing in the Carolinas. Late models, sportsman cars, local divisions, future prospects, veteran wheelmen all came to this track. The names changed, the cars evolved, and the section and body shifted, but the mission stayed the same. Give the racers a place to compete and the fans a place to belong. And that's what one of the most important things to understand about a track like Greenville-Pickens is. The headline moments matter. The cup races, the TV milestone, the famous names, but the soul of this place was built on weekly show. It was built by local racers loading up after work, like a long hard day work at, I don't know, a steel factory or something. And then you race on Friday, Saturday nights. You're coming out from maybe a 40 to 80 hour week, and then you're getting in a race car because you wanted to race here. Families sitting in the same section every Saturday night, kids falling in love with the racing from the grandstand, crew guys wrenching in the pits, the track champions carving their names into the walls and their local history. Even in more recent years, Greenville-Pickens remained a meaningful grassroots racing. NASCAR sanctioned weekly racing, special events, touring series, and appearances in the track championships kept the facility active deep into the modern era. This is a side of motorsports that often gets overlooked. Not because it isn't important, but because it's so local, so personal, so tied to memory, and that's exactly why preserving tracks like this matter. A racetrack is concrete, steel, fencing, and grandstands. But what makes it memorable, what makes it sacred to racing people is the human side. And at Greenville-Pickens Speedway, that story includes the Blackwell family, longtime stewards of the Speedway who helped shape its identity for decades, as well as generations of racers, promoters, crew members, and fans who treated this place like home. Tracks like Greenville-Pickens survive because somebody keeps opening the gate. Somebody keeps watering the grounds, repairing the fence, painting the walls, organizing the programs, scoring the laps, teching the cars, selling tickets, making sure the lights come on. It's never just a one-person run. It's a community effort. And if you ever spent time around short track racing, you know exactly what that means. The same family might be connected to a speedway for generations. The same fans come back year after year. The same drivers as kids then come back as adults, and then they bring their kids to the same place. That's why Greenville-Pickens means so much to people. It's not just where they watch racing, it's where they grew up. As rich as the history is on the story of Greenville-Pickens, it isn't just about the past, it's also about the present and the future. In recent years, the track's future has become uncertain. Racing activity stopped, redevelopment plans emerged around the property, and the possibility of losing Greenville-Pickens as an active speedway became very real. The uncertainty sparked a wave of concern from local fans, racers, and preservation-minded members of the motorsports community who understand exactly what would be lost if this place disappears. And this is where the conversation gets bigger than one speedway. Across America, historic short tracks face the same challenge: rising land value, aging facilities, changing entertainment habits, and the hard economics of keeping grassroots racing alive. But the argument for saving places like Greenville-Pickens Speedway is powerful. These tracks are living museums of motorsports. They are training grounds for young drivers, gathering places for communities, and physical links to roots of stock car racing. And when a historic track closes, you don't just lose a business, you lose local stories, you lose traditions, you lose the place where a grandfather watched Ralph Earnhardt race, where a father brought his kids on Saturday nights, where a future driver fell in love with the sport. And in this case of Greenville-Pickens Speedway, you also lose one of the few remaining places that can honestly say, we were there when this sport became what it is today. Greenville-Pickens Speedway is more than an old oval in South Carolina. Dale Jr.'s talked about it. A lot of people have talked about it. It's a time capsule. It's a landmark. It's a reminder that the story of racing isn't only written at giant super speedways and modern stadiums. It's written at places like this, where the sport was built one Saturday night at a time. From its dirt beginnings in 1946 to NASCAR's early years, to its role in live television history, to the generations of weekly racers and fans who called it home, Greenville-Pickens Speedway earned its place in American motorsports history. And whether its future is written in fresh painting or green flags or only in a memory, one thing is certain: this track matters, and it still does today to people. So, with that being said, this is the CK Motorsports Full Throttle, and we're road trip to track history lane, and this has been another informative trip as we took a visit and a ride down memory lane to Greenville-Pickens Speedway. And if you love short track history, grassroots racing, and the place that built this sport, then go visit this place and help preservationists save this place so we can still have it to visit and look at. So, with that being said, I'm the boss man, CK. Like I said, continue to like, subscribe, and continue to ride along with us, and continue to follow and love NASCAR just as much as I do. And thank you, CK Nation, for always supporting and watching this show. So, remember, until next time, we are always all gas, no brakes, full throttle for Kyle, and we'll see you on the next one.